We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mother sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mother sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first. They have the courage where we fail. If I can just shine a light on as they carry us through the gale. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I am woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. At times I can be quite difficult. I'll bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Come on, sing now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. 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 We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Come on, sing now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
Thank you for joining us today for our virtual service. I'm Charlene Farley, a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship on the Emerald Coast. Whether you are a member of our spiritual community or a newcomer wishing to learn more about us and our religious faith, you are welcomed here. Learn more about us and keep informed about our upcoming services and events posted on our website at UUFEC.com or in our e-newsletter published every Friday. Contact admin at UUFEC.com to be put on our mailing list. After the service, join us for a Zoom coffee hour at 11 a.m. You'll find the link in your e-news or on your order of service that you received yesterday via the email. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our new minister, the Reverend Ruth Van Lillian, who begins her shared ministry with us this month. You can read all about her and her spiritual journey that brought her to Unitarian Universalism in your July 23rd copy of the e-news or on the UUFEC.com website. Until we can meet in person, Reverend Ruth's messages will be recorded and streamed on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, posted on our website every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. And now, some welcoming words from Reverend Ruth.
Good morning. It is a joy to be with you, especially to help lead your worship service with my distant and yet close cousin, Spence Foscue. Our opening words are excerpted from The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. She spoke these words at the inauguration of President Biden and Vice President Harris, and I couldn't think of a better way to open our July 4th service. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace. And norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover, and every known nook of our nation and every corner called our country, our people diverse and beautiful, will emerge, battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
With humility and courage born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice.
Good morning. My name is Sofia Lopez, and I am the Director of Religious Exploration at UUFEC. And today we're going to be reading a book called The Day You Begin. This was written by Jacqueline Woodson and illustrated by Rafael Lopez. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you. Maybe it will be your skin, your clothes, or the curl of your hair. There will be times when no one understands the way the words curl from your mouth, the beautiful language of the country you left behind. My name is Rigoberto. We just moved here from Venezuela. And because they don't understand, the classroom will fill with the laughter until the teacher quiets everyone. Rigoberto, from Venezuela, your teacher says so softly and beautifully that your name and homeland sound like flowers blooming the first bright notes of a song. There will be times when the words don't come. Your own voice, once huge, now smaller when the teacher asks, "What did you do last summer? Tell the class your story." "We went to France," Shayla says. "These shells came from a beach in Maine." A boy named Jonathan holds out a jar filled with tiny shells so fragile they look like they'll turn to dust in your own untraveled hands. My whole family went to India, Spain, South Carolina. Each souvenir a small triumph of a journey. Their travels going on and on. And as you stand in front of that room, you can only remember how the heat waved as it lifted off the curb, and your days spent at home caring for your little sister who made you laugh out loud and hugged you hard at nap time. You can only remember the books you kept on reading long after she'd fallen asleep. And in that room, where no one else is quite like you, you'll look down at your own empty hands and wonder, what good is this when other students were flying and sailing and going somewhere? There will be times when the lunch your mother packed for you is too strange or too unfamiliar for others to love them as you do. When even your own friend Nadia will wrinkle her nose and say, "What's in there anyway?" And you'll wonder how she doesn't see the rice beneath the meat and kimchi. You'll wonder why she doesn't remember that rice is the most popular food in the world. There will be times when the climbing bars are too high. The run is too fast and far. The game isn't one you can even really play. I don't want him on our team. You can watch. Maybe you can have a turn later. There will be times when the world feels like a place that you're standing all the way outside of. And all that stands beside you is your own brave self, steady as steel and ready, even though you don't know yet what you're ready for. There will be times when you walk into a room and no one there is quite like you until the day you begin to share your stories. My name is Angelina, and I spent my whole summer with my little sister. You tell the class, your voice stronger than it was a minute ago. Reading books and telling stories, and even though we were right on our block, it was like we got to go everywhere. Your name is like my sister's, Rigoberto says. Her name is Angelina, too. And all at once, in the room where no one else is quite like you, the world opens itself up a little wider to make some space for you. That is the day you begin to find the places inside your laughter and your lunches, your books, your travels, and your stories where every new friend has something a little like you and something else so fabulously not quite like you at all. just love this book. Number one, it's so beautifully written. It's almost like a poem. And I think it's illustrated in such a lovely way as well. And I think it has such a wonderful message. We are all so very different, and we're all so very much the same in a lot of different ways. And I think it's important to understand that. There are definitely times, and I'm sure we've all felt this way, that we don't fit in. We feel like we don't. We feel like no one understands us. People are looking at us funny, whether it is the way we dress or what we're eating, or because we can't do something that they can do. And that can feel really hard. But I think that's what this book, well, I don't think, that's definitely what this book is talking about here. It's saying when you begin to share your stories, you know, the day that you begin to share those things that are different about you, that's when you learn how that there's something about you that's the same as someone else. And also that maybe there are things that are just totally different, and that's really awesome as well. So I really encourage everyone to do that, to sort of step out of your comfort zone and share those things. Because I think, as we'll see as we saw in the book, that's where we find out that we have a lot of things that are the same. And also it's really important to learn about different people and different experiences and different cultures and different food, and how those experiences shape someone else to be different than you. And there's nothing wrong with being different. And it's important to appreciate those differences as well as the similarities that we all have. So I hope you enjoyed this book. It's really one of my favorites. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
We would be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great, strong land of love where kings never connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land of liberty that is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me nor freedom in this homeland of the free. In his 1935 poem, Let America Be America Again, Langston Hughes speaks of his country with a mixture of patriotic affection and profound anger, of celebration and accusation. Hughes speaks powerfully of his own experience as a Black man living in the deeply segregated society of the United States in the early part of the 20th century. He also speaks on behalf of racialized and marginalized groups reaching for the ideal of the American dream, which has remained just beyond their reach. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. also spoke about the experience of the American dream in his sermon, The Other America. There are literally two Americas. One America is beautiful, overflowing with the milk of prosperity and the honey of opportunity. This America is the habitat of millions of people who have food and material necessities for their bodies, and culture and education for their minds, and freedom and human dignity for their spirits. In this America, millions of people experience every day the opportunity of having life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in all of their dimensions. But tragically and unfortunately, there is another America. This other America has a daily ugliness about it that constantly transforms the ebullience of hope into the fatigue of despair. In this America, people are poor by the millions. They find themselves perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountain majesties above the fronted plain. Is there still an American dream? Is there still an America worth dreaming of, worth singing about? Hughes' poem continues. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery's scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the ways of satisfying need, of work the men, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean. Hungry, yet today, despite the dream, beaten. Yet today, oh pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead. the poorest worker bartered through the years. Remember the failed insurrection at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th and the events preceding and following? See them now in your mind's eye. See our former president and many of our elected Congress people declaring lies and manipulating the vulnerabilities of their listeners. See the mob of angry, ignorant, gullible, foolish, deluded, violent white Americans storm the Capitol building, the physical seat of our government, where that dream is supposedly perpetuated and protected. See the wanton vandalism, the gleeful destruction, the attacks on the defenders, the weapons, the mockery, the insults, the prideful entitlements. Now, think of the fight for civil rights of 50 years ago. See the crowds of Black and white citizens marching together to end the violent oppression. Think of the rallies and marches of 2020 and 2021 to protest again against racialized violence, against systemic racism, against police brutality, against white supremacy culture at its ugliest. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, unmerciful than life. Hugh's poem continues. Yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream in the old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt a dream so strong, so brave, so true that even yet its mighty daring sings in every brick and stone, in every furrow turned, that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home, for I'm the one who left dark Ireland's shore and Poland's plain and England's leafy lee, and torn from Black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who said the free? Not me, surely not me. The millions on relief today, the millions shot down when we strike, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we've dreamed, and all the songs we've sung, and all the hopes we've held, and all the flags we've hung. The millions who have nothing for our pay, except a dream that's almost dead today. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Is it dead? Is the American dream dead? The man who was then our nation's president spat on the Constitution and led insurrection against our Congress. Police beat citizens peacefully protesting against violence toward Black persons, and then the same police opened the gates for armed, violent, white rioters to attack our Capitol. Those elected to serve the citizenry are still actively working to undermine a certified and recertified election. I mean, you got to ask yourself, is there an America left at all? Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in love. By 1967, a year before his assassination, Martin Luther King Jr. was shifting his focus away from the battles against segregation and for basic decency to the more complex problems of systemic cultural racism. The people of the United States, who had been appalled by bus attacks and police dogs, were not prepared to go the next step and embrace racial equality in daily life. King told them the struggle for civil rights and the struggle to make these two Americas one America is much more difficult today than it was years ago. But we must see that the struggle today is much more difficult because we are struggling now for genuine equality. And it's much easier to integrate a lunch counter than it is to guarantee a livable income and a good, solid job. It's much easier to guarantee the right to vote than it is to guarantee the right to live in sanitary, decent housing conditions. It's much easier to integrate a public park than it is to make genuine, quality, integrated education a reality. To change the culture King lived in, defined by whiteness, which favored white persons, gave advantage and privilege to white persons, and placed all other racialized identities under, beneath, below the white identity in wealth, in housing options, in work opportunities, in education, in political power, in legislation, was a much more difficult challenge in the fight for justice. King continued, racism is still alive in American society and much more widespread than we realized. And we must see racism for what it is. It is a myth of the superior and the inferior race. It is not the assertion that certain people are behind culturally or otherwise because of environmental conditions. It is the affirmation that the very being of a people is inferior. And this is the great tragedy of it. I submit that however unpleasant it is, we must honestly see and admit that racism is still deeply rooted all over America. It is still deeply rooted in the North, and it is still deeply rooted in the South. King and Hughes both hold up a mirror to reflect truth about America. Truth in 1935, truth in 1967, truth in 2021. America is still not living up to her promises, still not living out of the values espoused by founders and leaders alike. King declared, and what is it that America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice, equality, and humanity. As the images from months of largely peaceful protests on behalf of justice for Black citizens flash in our minds, juxtaposed with scenes of an enraged white mob rioting in the Capitol, King's words ring eerily in our ears from 50 years ago. As long as America postpones justice, we stand in the position of having these recurrences of violence and riots over and over again. Let me say one other thing. Even though it may be true that the law cannot change the heart, it can restrain the heartless. Even though it may be true that the law cannot make a man love me, it can restrain him from lynching me. Let us be wary of calls for unity as code for the marginalized to settle down and stop complaining so we can move on. An America united under the tyranny of white supremacy is not an America I want to sing about. Hughes and King both remind us that to make the real America is to dismantle all systems of oppression and remake our nation. The patriot's dream is not a romantic notion of a new Europe where white people are entitled to fulfillment and non-whites take the scraps from under the table. Langston Hughes cries out, "Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me. Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again? Sure, call me any ugly name you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain. From those who live like leeches on the people's lives, we must take back our land again. America. Take back our land, our country. The rioters yelled words like that as they battered down the doors of the U.S. Capitol building. Take it back from home. Listen to these white supremacists squealing because they are losing control over what they have always taken for granted as their America. It's not anymore. It never really was. Consider this reinvention of the American dream by Dr. King. In a real sense, we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. And so we are all in the same situation. The salvation of the Negro will mean the salvation of the white man, and the destruction of the life and the ongoing progress of the Negro will be the destruction of the ongoing progress of the nation. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and live together as brothers and sisters all over this great nation. What shall we do, citizens? Shall we abandon this country to deteriorate and disintegrate in the toxicity of oppression and systemic injustice? Shall we shrug and shake our heads and armor ourselves to live compartmentalized lives of privilege, those who can afford it, while the rest of the country sinks into the abyss? Shall we cower in fear of white supremacists raging and threatening in their fearful tantrums? King and Hughes and millions of others cry out to us from history. Do not abandon this America. Do not give up on the dream. Remake, rework, rewrite, renew, recreate that dream. Listen to Hugh's declaration. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me. And yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the wreck and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. Amen. Shalom. Blessed be.
The reverence that gives to life its sacredness, and the purposes that give to life its deep significance, be strong within each of us and lead us into ever deepening relationships with all life. Amen. Blessed be.